Yeah, welcome everybody to the Watchers Digital Network. This is Drew and JC here again, kicking it over 2 years into the game, well over 100 episodes recorded. Just started keeping track of that again so we can start bragging about it more. Last week, you heard us have a very, very deep discussion about some heavy topics, and this episode will thankfully be kind of a palate cleaner, and we can kind of get back to our usual shenanigans. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and allow our guest to introduce herself, and then we'll start chatting.
Hello, everybody. Okay, I'm Claudine Creates, and you may have seen me on some of the Svengoolie fan groups or on YouTube. And in a nutshell, basically what I do is I make costumes and I make props, and sometimes I make both. And everything goes along with whatever movie Svengoolie is showing that week. And I started doing this in like October of 2022. So it's actually next week will be like my third year doing all of this. And I've been doing it every single week. Sometimes I take, like the holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving off, and if my kids have a birthday. But other than that, I've been doing it every single week for the last 3 years. And that's in a nutshell, basically what I do.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I came across your stuff was possibly one of the Svengoolie groups. I know that I'm in a couple. So when I started to kind of see what you were doing, I thought it was really cool, and I was like, you know what, man, I think we should profile this because, cosplaying for one is like it's blown up over the last few years, but like I
Mhm.
can remember. I mean, I'm old enough not to date myself, but I remember like 20 some years ago before it like really took off when you could go to these conventions and stuff and like the term cosplay wasn't even like really something that was used. It was always like you dressing up. You're gonna dress up when you're going to the
Right,
convention.
right.
You dressing up. So like it's cool that I go over to time. It's become uh, not just like a hobby, but a career for some people. So to
Yeah,
kind of
it really
see,
has.
yeah, to see your take on it is more niche. It's kind of more along the lines of the stuff that I enjoy, and especially like with the Svengoolie connection. I thought it was really cool. So I saw that first, and then I came across like the props and stuff that you're doing, and some of the other artistic stuff that you do. So um, I was like, yeah, man, this is really cool. So Svengoolie's been on for a while. What brought you to want to do this?
Well, I'm kind of new to watching Svengoolie. So my boyfriend is a huge horror fan, and he's been watching horror movies ever since he was a kid. And I grew up watching because I'm from the Detroit area, and our local horror host
Go
back in the day.
Lions.
Oh yeah, woohoo! And tigers too.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, like our local horror host was Sir Grace Ghastly, and they would show him every Saturday. And not to date myself, but I am a lot older than you guys, so I grew up in the '70s, and I would watch Sir Grace Ghastly every Saturday when I was a kid. And then, my parents weren't really into horror movies or anything, so they didn't really encourage me to watch them. And they never really took me to the movies to watch horror movies. So as I got a little bit older, I had different interests, and none of my friends were really into horror movies at all. But I was always interested in like the movie industry, and I was always curious about how they made the movie props and how did they do like the stop motion animation and like the Harryhausen type movies. I was always really curious about that. And I remember this was a long time ago, like way before I got involved with like making props. But I remember watching the Hobbit films with my son, and we hit it on Blu-ray. And on the Blu-ray, they have all the, like the bonus features and all the extra stuff that you can watch. And you could see, Peter Jackson and his whole crew creating all of the stages and the props and the costumes for the Hobbit. And man, I just felt like a calling for that. And I was a mom with two kids, And, I knew that there wasn't really any way that I was going to be able to like go to school for this or to learn, that industry or that trade, but I still was fascinated by it. And I knew in my heart that I wanted to be a part of something like that. I wanted to create props or be part of a team. And I've always been creative. Like ever since I was a little kid, I would draw. And ever since I was a little girl, I always dressed up all the time. I always had all kinds of clothes and makeup, and I would make things. I was always making stuff because I'm an only child. And when you grow up without brothers or sisters, you have to do something with your time. And I wasn't athletic or anything like that, but I loved to watch movies, and I loved to dress up. So here I am, I'm still dressing up as a kid. So that's kind of like where some of that started. Now, as far as the Svengoolie goes, so we'll fast forward to like 3 years ago. So my boyfriend, like I said, was a huge Svengoolie fan, and he always watched horror movies. So we started watching them together every Saturday night. And, at the end of Svengoolie, they always say, next week on Svengoolie, and then they announce what the movie's going to be. And the movie was going to be The Tingler. And I love that movie with Vincent Price. Have you guys seen The Tingler?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So that is like, it's one of my favorite movies. And I thought, ooh, The Tingler, that's a fun movie. And it's like interactive. And I had this moment of like inspiration, like this idea just popped into my head that I wanted to make a tingler, and I wanted to like hide it next to the bed, and I wanted to like surprise my boyfriend and like, zap him at the right moment of the movie. And I thought it'd be so funny because he's watched these movies a gazillion times, and I don't know, I just thought it would be fun. So I drew up the pattern for the tingler, like on a piece of paper. And then I found some like old material, some old fabric that I have. I have them right here. And I made him into a pillow, the tingler. So here he is. This is the very, very first like Svengoolie prop I ever made. And this was in October 2022. So I had it hidden next to the bed. And then when the certain scene came, I think they called it like electro or something like that. And I zapped him, and he was surprised. He thought it was funny. He thought it was really cool. And I got, a really good reaction out of him. And it was a lot of fun, and it only took me a week to sew this, it's just a pillow. And then at the end of that movie, they said, next week on Svengoolie, we'll be showing The Bride of Frankenstein. And I thought, ooh, that would be fun. Because I remember when I was really, really young in my 20s, I did a Halloween costume, and I was Bride of Frankenstein. And I thought I would love to do it again, but do a much better job. So that's when my wheels started turning about dressing up in a costume. So I kept it a secret. And the whole week I was gathering, I made the wig. I took a wig, like a kid's wig, and I spray painted it and put it all up and everything. And I made the costume out of a sheet. And then I practiced my makeup like a couple of nights before, and, took some photos to see what it would look like and everything. And I didn't tell him what I was going to do. And I hid everything in his bathroom. And then a little bit before the movie was going to start, I got dressed and it came out. He was blown away. He was so surprised that I did it. And that's, again, like how it all started. Like I had no intention of ever like doing this for a hobby or anything. It just started, and it was fun. And I don't remember what the next movie was after that, but I did do something the next movie. And then, week after week, I started doing things, and I wasn't doing like skits or anything. It was just more of like just me showing up and surprising my boyfriend before the movie. So going forward, like 3 years later, he has no idea what I'm going to do. Like the whole week, it's a secret. I'm building things, making stuff, making costumes. I haul everything over to his place for Saturday night when we watch the movie. And then I shut the door, and he can't come in. And then I now it's like a huge like stage production. I've got backdrops and lighting, and I've got fog machines, and I've got all kinds of stuff now. And I feel like I need like a gypsy wagon to like put my traveling show in, And so that's how it all works out. Like, he doesn't know what I'm doing, and it takes a week to do it. And like the first, I don't know, maybe the first month or so I was doing it. And I told one of my coworkers too what I was doing. And she thought it was really cool. And my boyfriend thought it was great. So they both like encouraged me to take photos and like make videos. And they're like, you should put this up on social media. And I'm like, why would I do that? I'm like, I'm just doing this for fun. And they're like, what do you mean you're just doing this for fun? I'm like, I'm literally just doing this for fun. It's fun. I love to make things. It's creative. And what I figured out, because like we talked about this before, my memory is awful. I can't remember titles of movies. I can't remember if I've seen things, but in doing my research and making these costumes and these props, it's helped me to retain the movies, because I know if I see the title of the movie, then I know, I'm like, oh, I remember I made that prop, I remember what it was. So it's like a mechanism for me to remember things. So they both encouraged me to like I said, take pictures and make videos. And I wasn't really like too keen on doing that. I wasn't really, I thought, who would want to see this? It's just me being goofy. And they're like, no, this is really cool. This is really cool. So I did. And I started taking some pictures, and, I had my boyfriend take pictures. And then I started like making some videos to kind of like document what I was doing and how I was making things. And then I started uploading it, and it got some likes and some views from like people like my friends and everything. And then I thought about, I know there's somebody, I think somebody made a comment, or I saw something about like some fan groups. So I joined a couple of the Svengoolie fan groups, and I took a chance and started posting, on the fan groups too. And it, like I said, it went over pretty well. And I was so surprised. I'm like, I can't believe anybody likes this stuff. It's just me, I'm just a lady that just makes things, And it went over, like I said, really well. And then, so let's see, started doing it in October. And I think it was March of the following year. So that would have been March of like 2023, I think it was. I started noticing Svengoolie started liking my posts. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, Svengoolie, he saw my post, he liked it. And I was like running around the house. I was like super excited, and I couldn't believe that he saw it and he liked it. And then after that, I started noticing, a little bit more likes and things like that. And then I got a DM on Facebook, and it was from him, from Svengoolie. And I thought, I don't know, I'm not sure, is this real? Because there's so many people that impersonate like celebrities. And I'm usually not a skeptical person, but you almost have to be these days. Unfortunately, you kind of have to second guess people. And so I wasn't sure. And I think I looked at his profile and everything. And I'm like, well, it appears to be him. And then I looked at, he has another profile too, where he's Rich Coes. And I looked at that profile. And so I replied back, and I specifically asked him, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And because he said, I've been seeing your stuff and I really like it. And I think it's really cool what you're doing. And so I asked him, I said, is this the real Svengoolie, like the real one I see on TV? Because I didn't want to say, like, is this the real Svengoolie, without trying to be like really specific, And he's like, yes, I am the real Svengoolie you see on TV. And he messaged me on both accounts to verify that he was the real deal. And I'm like, that's so cool. He's such a nice person. And he even told me, he's like, you're being smart. He's like, you're a smart girl for verifying that I am who I am. Because he's like, he does get impersonated a lot. And there are a lot of people that create like fake Svengoolie accounts and pretend to be him. So I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe that he's talking to me. And I didn't know what to say. And I thanked him, obviously, for the compliments. And I was like super excited. And then I waited about a day and I thought, this is an opportunity that I didn't try to get, but I felt, because I'm a very spiritual person, and I felt like the universe handed me an opportunity. Like, he contacted me and the dialogue was opening up. So I thought, I don't want to be a huge fangirl and I don't want to be annoying or anything, because I was trying to like be cool. And so I just took like a little paragraph and I kind of introduced myself and I told him what I do and the process of what I do every week and, my time the time that I have and, my limited budget and the whole thing. And I just thought I would introduce myself and, kind of just throw it out there. And I'm like, what can it hurt? I mean, if he's, doesn't want to talk to me, it's fine, but he was cool. He was really, really cool. And he, kept the dialogue going with me. And he's a fabulous person. He's so nice, so kind. And he's very, very supportive of like what I do. He really likes it. So, and that just fueled the fire for me to just keep doing this. And people, more people start seeing what I was doing. And like I said, it just blows me away. And I'm so, I don't know, I'm just amazed that people like this stuff. And I don't know, I just feel like everything has clicked and everything has worked out really, really well for me doing all this silly shenanigans, because I thought about it and nobody really does this. And it wasn't like I set out with a plan of like, this is what I'm going to do. And, I got this great idea or anything. It just happened. It was very organic. It just happened. And it started off slowly with just one little thing and some photographs. And then it bloomed into, what you guys have been seeing recently with skits and everything. And it's like, I'm not an actor. Clearly you can see what I do, but it's perfect because these are B movies. These movies are corny. They're silly. Svengoolie is silly. And I feel like, it just fits right along with the whole program because I'm not trying to recreate. I'm not trying to be like movie accurate. And I'm not trying to recreate props that are from like modern movies because I'm not quite at that skill level. And I think it's kind of cool for me to be able to show people that you can use cardboard and clay and, old pieces of fabric and material and stuff from your garage because that's all that I use. I don't have, this is all my own money. I don't have any money really to spend. And I go to thrift stores and I just rummage around because I'm a pack rat. I save everything. And, like I said, I thrift and just make everything by hand in the very like old fashioned way that they made props. Like practical effects and everything like back in the day. They used, toilet paper on their face. And I've done the same thing. So, it's all very much in line with the old movies and the old style and the old methods of making props. So that was a big long ramble.
No, not at all. It was informative and, it gave me a lot to touch base on. I hope I can remember everything. I'm not exactly taking notes.
You weren't taking notes?
No, sometimes I do. But my kids.
Oh, I do. I have notes.
I have, my kids always have like this paper here in the office. And I had a notebook here. I was taking notes on the last show that we did. And all my pencils are gone. And the paper's gone. So I'm going to try to remember everything. But one of the things that you talked about, and it's kind of become thematic with us here on this show, is you said that when Sven reached out to you and he just ended up being like the nicest dude. That's something that I'm seeing a lot, specifically in the horror community, because I have been those because they don't turn out to be who you think they are, kind of. And at least at this level that we're in with the people that we speak with, like, man, everybody in this community just has each other's backs most of the time. It's
Yeah.
so refreshing to kind of see when everything else is on fire in this planet, that
Yes.
like the indie horror scene and just kind of like this level, at least everybody gets along, everybody helps each other out. um, we might as well rename the show the Donald Farmer Project or something, because like anytime that comes up, I bring up like, well, Donald Farmer is like the coolest dude in the world. He's been on our show, and before I reached out to him to be on the show, I never would have even thought to be like, oh, why don't you reach out to this dude who you've been watching his movies your
Right.
entire life, you know? Or like Frank Farrell, who did Street Trash, like literally my favorite movie ever made. Has been on this show and like will respond to DMs and stuff. So it's always refreshing. And as someone that really likes Svengoolie, it's awesome to hear that he's also like a grounded, down to earth individual that can really appreciate a fan that's kind of, doing their own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's how he started too. I mean, all of the old stuff, like if you watch a lot of his old, footage of when he took over being
Mm-hmm.
Svengoolie, all of those props, he wrote all the songs that they sang. He does, he wrote all the skits, all the props, the costumes, all those voices and everything. He's done hundreds of voices because he, has his career. He started off in radio, and and then he transitioned over. And I know the story of Svengoolie, and he could tell it much better than me, but I know that that is exactly true. That's how he feels a connection, because he's done all of this, and it's all very, I call it like homemade, but it's all just using what you have, the materials that are in front of you on a tight budget. So like I said, I mean, I have a week when he announces, because I don't look ahead either of what he's going to show. And, and I used to love to watch that show. Did you guys ever watch Face Off on the Sci Fi
Oh yeah, I
Channel?
love to.
Oh, gosh.
I would lose days of my life to rerun marathons of that show. Like
Yep, I just
I'm,
rewatched the whole thing. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but yeah, and you know how everyone has like a there's a time limit, of how
Hmm.
long you have to get this stuff done. And I think for me, in my mind, this is kind of like my own little reality show of I have 1 week to get this done. So I wait till he announces what he's going to show, and that's on Saturday night, and then on usually I will do some other stuff on Sunday, and then Monday I start like researching the movie. So I'll watch the movie, I'll look for video clips, images, anything that I can to kind of like research, because I'll be honest, I haven't seen practically any of these. I haven't seen any of these movies before. And I mean, I've seen all the major movies growing up as a kid: Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, like all the Abbott Costello movies and things like that. But all of these other movies, like these props behind me that I've done, besides The Creature from the Black Lagoon, but all these other ones, like I've never seen them before. So it's fun. It's fun to, because I'm, getting my own research. And like I said, I'll watch the movie, and sometimes I'll watch the whole thing, or sometimes I'll watch just enough that an idea will come to my head of like, oh, that's a really cool prop. It's something I think I could make, or I love this costume. Like if I can figure out what I can do right away, then I won't watch the movie. Then I'll watch the whole thing when I'm tuning in with Svengoolie. But sometimes I do watch the whole thing. Um, and I don't know. I just went on a different way. I'm not even sure what the direction I was going with the conversation.
No, it's good. It's good. It's method, and also
Yeah.
it kind
But oh, you know what? One other thing I wanted to touch on too, like what you were talking about, the fans and all of the celebrities. You are absolutely right. They're so kind, and they're so nice, and they're humble, and they really do want to talk with the fans and engage with the fans. And you are absolutely right. It's so refreshing. And for me too, being new to this genre, so to speak, I love it. And I've been so easily accepted into the fan groups and everything. And it just amazes me, because I don't think you can find it with other groups and other, other like interests that other people have, because some people are a little snobby about movies and everything like that, but I haven't really met anybody like that that is a horror fan. Everybody seems to be really nice.
Yeah, I think everybody's so busy gatekeeping everything else that the horror community is just kind of no longer like that because everybody's just
Right.
at each other's throats everywhere else. So, like, this is like that one pastime where everybody's like, yeah, everything sucks. Let's watch somebody get decapitated together and
Right,
let's
right,
have a
not.
good time. Uh, um, but so in the off chance, because I know this is something that I've seen people complain about, is when Svengoolie has like a rerun, or they'll run a movie that they've ran before, but instead
Yeah,
of like Svengoolie, it'll be like the other three that are kind of doing the skits around it. So
right.
should that occur, do you take that week off, or do you pick like something else about that movie to then make something for?
Well, I kind of do both. If it's something that I've already done, then yeah, I might take that week off and then just repost like the photos. But like, here's a really good example of when I didn't take the week off. So he showed a movie. It was called The Black Scorpion, and the first time he showed it, I made a costume and I turned my monkey into the Black Scorpion. So I made a whole little like vinyl costume, and he had the scorpion legs and everything like that, and the tail. But in doing my research for the movie The Black Scorpion, I stumbled upon another movie called The Black Scorpion. And it was a sexy cop, and she was all dressed in this really cool outfit. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, that's kind of cool. So I looked into that, and I remember thinking to myself, remember, if he ever shows that movie again, I could take it in a different direction. And that's what I did. So when he showed the movie again, and he's like, next week on Svengoolie, it'll be the Black Scorpion. I'm like, ha! I'm like, now I have an opportunity to go in a different direction. It's not horror related at all, but it's the same title. And
Yeah.
and I think there might have been some ties maybe with the movie. I could be wrong. But so that's what I did. And I got to for the first time use like EVA foam, and I made a headpiece and a helmet, and then I made some connections with the like the cosplay community, because I needed some help on how to form the EVA foam, to make like a helmet and everything. And then, like I said, I made some really good connections through those avenues, and that was like the perfect excuse for me to take what I do and go in a little bit different direction. So, and I do have other interests that I want to do is besides the horror. I do want to create other costumes and other props, like science fiction. I love, excuse me, and I love to watch like the original Star Trek show. So there are a lot of costumes. Those costumes are so cool. The costumes that the women wore in the original Star Trek series. So, I thought, well, that might be kind of fun to do, like take some key characters and, recreate them and pose. And and I love to read comics. I'm a huge comic book collector. So there are a lot of characters that I've already dressed up as a lot of comic book characters in the past and cosplayed at like our, comic book conventions, Motor City Comic Con and a couple other places. But I'd like to do some of the more obscure characters and recreate those. So I've got all kinds of stuff going on in my head for more costumes and everything, but I still do love the horror. I love recreating like all of these goofy monsters, and it's easy to do because they're so goofy looking that they don't have to be precise, but just the essence of what it is. Because back in the day when they were making them, they were only using cardboard and paper mache and ping
Right.
pong balls and everything. So hey, I'm just doing the same thing, and it's pretty cool because you look online and the toy companies are mass producing all of the current day stuff, using 3D printed materials and plastics and everything, but you can't really buy these things. If you do, you might commission somebody to make one for you. So,
Yeah.
and like with the Tingler. So I started off with the pillow, and then the Tingler pillow then turned into this guy right here. I remade the Tingler out of EVA foam. He's huge, and I love him. He kind of looks like a big piece of bread. But he's so much fun. I mean, I love, William Castle movies. Those are my favorite. I mean, I don't have like a specific movie. If anybody were to say, like, what's your favorite movie? I don't have one favorite movie, but I definitely have a fondness for William Castle movies because, they were so interactive, and I think he was a genius at that. He was such an entertainer. He made a movie going experience become a whole event. And, I've had people online kind of make the same analogy that they love to watch the Svengoolie movie on Saturday night, and they look forward to Sunday or Monday seeing what the heck did I do? What did I watch? Because then it makes it like a Svengoolie weekend out of the whole thing, and it's pretty cool because I never intended for that to happen, but it did, and I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. A couple of points to make on that, and the first one is that it sounds kind of cheap or negative in a way when you compare it to like what a big studio is doing. But I watched, for instance, the remake of The Toxic Avenger, and I was completely turned off by that movie the entire time because the original Toxic Avengers, they're obviously trauma, they're low budget, they're independent, they're all in camera effects, all that stuff. And I'm watching this movie that's supposedly like this, love letter to it, and it's just nothing but CGI, just right in front of you every time. Everything that happens is CGI. So everything is done with CGI now, essentially, and you, in my opinion, lose that tangibility and that connection. That so you had talked about sci-fi and Star Trek. So just kind of like perusing your channel here with your Star Trek stuff. That was something that jumped out at me, and I wanted to kind of make that point that sometimes that might come off as overly simple because of the era, but it offers that tangibility that you don't get from, like, I don't know, the Star Trek blockbuster movies that we've seen for the last 15 years or so, where
Right.
somebody is CGI'd green and that's the extent of what the character is, versus the things that you are recreating from the show from the 60s. It just has an appeal and a look to it that is so much more aesthetically pleasing. So I just like, even from that prop standpoint, I think it's super cool. One of my best friends in this entire world has an art Instagram where he builds models strictly 100% out of garbage. So like he'll like I don't know, it's kind of gross, but he'll like save dental floss that they've used and like take the gross floss part out and then keep like the little plastic thing, and he'll just have like, and then just like bam, and he'll take a month and build this incredible thing. And we've had a filmmaker, William Long, he has a channel where he goes around and literally dumpster dives and then just builds props and like movie equipment out of stuff he's finding in the garbage. So like being like thrifty and being able to build your stuff the way that you do, I'm not impressed by 3D printing like in the least. But the stuff that you're doing and the things behind your shoulder right now, I'm impressed by that because again, it kind of has that that independent, tangible quality.
So here's another like thing when you're talking about dumpster diving, it kind of made me think of too, like when I need big pieces of cardboard, and I'll share this with everybody. If you need big pieces of cardboard without having to buy them, like I'm talking big pieces of cardboard, you go to your local bike store because the bikes get delivered in these huge boxes. Because I used to work at a bike shop when I was really, really young. And one of my jobs was when they were done putting the bikes together, they would throw them in the dumpster, and they told me, and I did it, I was so dumb. They told me to get in the dumpster and jump up and down. and jump up and down on top of the boxes to like make them press down a little bit. I think they just wanted to see me jumping up and down, quite honestly. But I was too young to like think anything, you know, that had any ulterior motives, you know. But anyway, so going back to those days, I go to all my local bike shops and I wait till they're closed, and I go back to the dumpsters, and it's like, it's like free cardboard, and it's big pieces of cardboard. And on the inside, it's plain. Like the outside might have writing on it from the brand name of the bike, but you just, you know, take your box cutter, cut them open, and you got big sheets of cardboard. Because I've gone to like the supply store, I can't remember, Granger maybe. We have one here. I think it's a nationwide chain, and it's like warehouse equipment and tools and things like that. And you can buy. I've bought 8-foot long sheets of cardboard from this company, and that was for the movie Duel. Have you guys ever seen Duel? About the horror semi truck?
Yeah. It's based on a I want to say a Stephen King short story.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I made the truck out of 8-foot long pieces of cardboard, and I stayed up all night. I hand painted every section of this truck, and then I had my stuffed monkey played the mystery driver of it, because I think, if I recall correctly, in that movie, I might be thinking of a different one. There was one. Oh, there was one it was called The Car, I think, and there was another movie that's very similar. It was like a demon car, not Christine, but I think it was called The Car. But back to Duel. That prop was so big, and I wasn't thinking. I don't know what I was thinking, but I made this big long semi, and my plan was to put it all around the bedroom, and I couldn't fit it into the room. It was just too much. And I'm like, okay, I need to start thinking about scale, you know, in the dimensions of the room. And I built a couple things that were really tall. Like I built a sarcophagus, and I took one of those, you know, you can buy those pop-up coffins around Halloween time. You put the little sticks in them and they pop up. They're about 5 feet tall, and I'm only 5 feet tall, so I can get inside of one of those little pop-up coffins. So I made a huge sarcophagus out of cardboard, painted the whole thing gold, and then I hot glued it to the front of the coffin, the door, so that I could be inside the coffin, but then the sarcophagus was like a fake front, and it was 8 feet tall, and it went all the way up to the ceiling. And then I bandaged myself up as a mummy, and I was a queen. And this was for, I think it was like Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy or something like that. But I bandaged myself up as the queen, and then I made like a whole little like scavenger hunt kind of thing in the bedroom, and my boyfriend had to decipher the code, and he had to read from this like parchment paper. And then if he read what it said, like emerge my queen or something like that, then I opened the sarcophagus door and then it came out. It was so much fun. And and again, like, I don't always think these things through all the way to the end, because I was in this like coffin in, you know, and it was like really hot in the room, and it was closed, and I was completely bandaged up. So I really couldn't breathe. Like I had covered my face and everything, and he's got to figure out this riddle in order to get me to emerge. And I had to like crack it open just a tiny little bit and put my face near the corner of it so I could breathe, because I was starting to feel a little woozy while I was in it, you know? And I'm like, I need to like maybe practice these things ahead of time, because I usually don't. Usually I just make them and then do it, you know?
Just end up suffocating yourself.
Exactly. The sacrifices we make for art.
Right. It reminds me, completely off topic, but it reminds me of, I remember like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, it was like a hot topic about waterboarding and if it was torture or not. So my friends and I waterboarded each other for a YouTube video to see.
Wow.
It was like,
Smartest thing to do in that situation, right?
It was definitely torture, but that's besides the point. Like, we were like wanting to make this dumb video, and like the only way to do it accurately was to do it properly and to actually waterboard each other. So
Well,
that was
okay. Yeah.
that was awful.
It was research and development.
I'm very
Right.
very proud to announce that I was not part of that.
Okay, I was kind of curious if you were the other friend that was a part of it. No.
No, but I do
draw
make
the line
great.
at torture.
I do make great sacrifices for our art. We were filming a movie once, and this scene never saw the light of day. But I had JC hit me with his car for it.
Like for real?
Yeah, I did hit him with my car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm method and I'm dedicated to my craft.
I'd say so.
Somebody called the police on us, and we had to like run and hide.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I've had so many people ask me online too if the police have ever showed up, at our door, because some of the skits I scream a lot, and I'm screaming, like help me, and thankfully, I got to find some wood to knock on wood. No police have ever showed up at our door, and I think the neighbors that live upstairs are probably just kind of used to it. They probably think that, whoa, that couple is freaky deaky every Saturday night.
They're up there like trying to sacrifice something to end whatever's happening down below them.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we've had quite a few people moving in and out upstairs. So maybe that's why. Maybe people just keep leaving because we're just too weird.
That girl down beneath us is dressed like a mummy again.
Yeah,
gotta
and
get
I
out of
know.
here.
I'm sure those neighbors, like, they probably peer out their window and they see me, like, when I come over Friday night and I'm unloading my truck with all the crap that I'm bringing in, the sarcophagus or a big semi truck, and like when I just made that tarantula, like I didn't even think I was gonna be able to get that thing into my truck. I thought, I don't know. I make things and then I don't think, like I said, I don't always think through the whole process of, the logic behind of how I'm going to transport these things. But I did. I got it in my truck. I ended up taking the legs off. But I know they must wonder, like, what in the world is that girl doing? And then I'll come out the next day when we go, because we go to a lot of comic book shows, a lot of comic book conventions, and I'll come out, I'm Batgirl, or I'm Catwoman or something. And I'm always dressing up all the time. So I don't know what they think. No one's ever said anything. So
I think at this point,
they just leave us alone.
I think
they're probably scared. They're like, we're just going to stay up on our floor and we can possess the entirety of the other floor. Exactly.
But yeah, listen, thankfully nobody's ever come to the door, because I would be highly embarrassed. Or I'd just invite the cops in to show them what we're doing.
I used your video.
Yeah, that's probably the most fun that they would have, in Detroit on a Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at least they're not going to get shot at your place.
Right. Exactly. I mean, can you imagine if like the police or somebody saw like what you guys were talking about when you're filming your movie and, you hit him with your car? I mean, can you imagine if anybody like saw that and they're like, oh my gosh, and like call the police and.
Oh, they did.
No,
they
did. Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. No, the cops hated us where I grew up, man. We were always up to shenanigans.
Oh my gosh.
I just went last year, and we went back to the hometown because we wanted continuity, and we filmed another movie there that was a sequel to this thing that we did like 20 years ago. And we went as adults in our 30s and did all the same crap, and the cops were all over town looking for us again. And we're throwing dummies off of the bridge, making it look like somebody fell off the bridge. And we were in cop uniforms, so like they could have got us for like impersonating police officers and stuff. So the cops hated us where I grew up. But kind of to touch on some more of your stuff, I'm curious, is there a certain prop that you've made that ended up kind of being more trouble than it was worth, in your opinion? Like, what would, before I ask like what your favorite is, like what was like your least favorite experience?
Well, I did have a failure, but luckily I took a picture before it fell apart. So I think, I don't remember the title of the movie, but it had the Metaluna mutant in it. I think that was the movie. And there was like an orb on the spaceship. And I built it from like, you know, those spheres that you can buy your kids. They're small, and then you can open them up really big. They're sort of like, it's like an accordion type sphere, and they're made out of plastic, and they're brightly colored. Do you guys kind of know what those are? They're
vaguely.
Vaguely.
They're a ball thing. You like,
yes.
Yeah.
And you open it up.
Yeah, I had those when I was young.
Yep. So I used that as like the like part of the base of my prop, and I had a PVC pipe going up the center of it, and I attached it all to like a paint bucket, like one of those like real big gallon like Home Depot paint buckets. And so the orb was made out of that, and then it was covered in lights. So I put Christmas lights all over it, everything. And I'm not super mechanically minded as far as like building and constructing things, but it was really, I thought it was going to work, and it did work. And then I'd set it all up, and I had an idea of maybe putting some fishing line, looping it through the big orb, and then running it up to the ceiling, and then maybe using one of those like those sticky hooks like on the ceiling to like hook the fishing line to, so that the orb wouldn't fall. But I was having difficulty getting that done, and it was falling off the ceiling. So I'm just like, all right, screw it, I'm just gonna do it. And before the movie even started, like the whole thing just fell over, fell apart. The Christmas lights came off and everything, and I was pretty bummed out at it. But like I said, at least before the movie started, I got a photo of it before it completely fell apart. But I mean, other than that, I can't really think of anything that I've ever thought was like a complete waste of time. I've had some props though that I've spent a lot of time doing that I thought maybe would get more of a response maybe, and they didn't quite get as much of a response as what I had hoped. And, but again, I am doing this for myself, bottom line, I'm doing this because I love it. And I have them all here, I'm all over my house, in my garage. Some of them are at my boyfriend's house, and they're really cool. And, I don't regret making any of them, and regardless if people enjoy them or not, I like them. And every week I'm learning a new skill set too, because I didn't go to school for this, and I love YouTube videos. I watch people all the time making things, and I'm always researching, how to put these things together. And I wanted to show you guys something too. So this was another idea that I had for like another thing besides like the Svengoolie stuff. So are you guys familiar with Dick Smith? He's an old time special effects makeup guy. It's like, and so, there was Jack Pierce, and then there's like Dick Smith. So anyway, he made this book, and it's called Do It Yourself Monster Makeup. And he's got in here, I'll flip it around to the other side, all these different looks that you can make. And it's a step-by-step instruction magazine. And I think this was published in 1965. So I've got one of, an old vintage copy. And again, this is all, stuff that you can use, gelatin and glue and Kleenex and just real old school ways of recreating and making all of these monsters. And he's, a very, very famous, special effects, makeup artist from back in the day. So I thought, and this was published from Famous Monsters of Filmland. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through and recreate all of these in the same way that he did, because I don't have access to plaster casts, and I don't have access to silicone, and, all the things that I've watched on Face Off, I don't have those materials. I can't afford them, and I don't have them. Maybe someday. I don't even own an airbrush. I would love to have an airbrush. Like I kind of have like a wish list on Amazon of like things I would like to have. But everything I paint by hand, dry brush by hand. And I use, I go to Michael's, I go to Dick Blick. We have one in the Dearborn, Detroit area, and it's like a really nice art store. Order a ton of stuff off of Amazon, and but I'm doing it like the old school way, and it's doable. And I like to show people that if you want to do this, you can do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's, if you have the interest, and I do. And I've been teaching myself. And like I said, every week I'm learning a new skill set. I mean, I never did anything like this before. And it's just, I'm getting better and better. And I'm proud of the stuff that I make. It's kind of cool. But yeah, this is something that I would like to do, like make a little series and recreate, a lot of these looks, especially the one on the cover with the big ping pong balls for eyes. I've got a bookmark in here, and it's a little boy that he did all the makeup on, and you can see the nose and the face and everything, and the eyes and the teeth,
That is really cool.
It is really, really cool. But again, but from here, then that's how you get all of the techniques and the things that they use today.
So that was a fast hour. We're coming up on that, and you were worried that you were worried we weren't going to get there.
I know. I'm always worried. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough to say.
I had a couple of other questions here that are kind of bounced off of some of your other links. I saw that you do that you have an Etsy shop that I had checked out, and also like free to use coloring pages.
Yes. So that's part of that. Okay, so before I did all the costumes and the props, like I said, I've always been creative, and I used to draw all the time. So that was something that I did as part of my job. So I work in a public library, and I'm an assistant librarian. I'm not a librarian because I don't have a master's degree, but I'm an assistant, and I've been doing it for 12 years. And I work in the children's department. So part of our preschool story time, it was an idea that I came about. I don't know. It was just one of those light bulb moments of drawing a cartoon based on whatever the stories were going to be that the librarian had planned on reading for preschool story time. So they liked that idea, and they bought a whiteboard. So I would, ask her the day of, like, hey, what kind of books are you going to read? And then, I started to like ask her a little bit ahead of time so I could sketch out some cartoons and some stuff to draw on the whiteboard. And I would set up the whiteboard by the front of the library door. So as all of the children would come in for story time, they would take a look at the whiteboard, and they could see the cartoons, and they could kind of figure out, ooh, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, today we're going to talk about ducks, or today we're going to talk about the letter F. So I always had all these like ideas. And then from there, I took the drawings that I would do on the whiteboard, and then I turned it into like an activity. So I would hand draw a coloring sheet based on whatever, like I said, whatever it was we were going to talk about. And I started doing that with like 2 librarians ago, because we've gone through a lot of different, youth librarians. And the one that we have now, the current one, I've been working with her for a while, and I decided to draw her as a character, as like a little I made her into a cartoon. So I kind of branded our youth librarian, and I would draw her with all of the characters, like whatever books that she planned to read. So she's with Pete the Cat, she's with, Pigeon, she's with, Dr. Seuss and Cat in the Hat, or whatever it is that she's going to read. I would draw her with the characters and create a coloring sheet, and then print it out, and then have it for the kids to color. So again, I think this was like my boyfriend's idea. He's like, you should upload these on Instagram, because I used to be on Instagram all the time, because that's seemed to me like back a long time ago, I kind of thought Facebook's just like for families and for, people to post pictures of their kids and their dogs, but I'm an artist, so I'm gonna be on Instagram. So that's where I started putting everything on Instagram. And like I said, he he does the same thing too. My boyfriend is also an artist, and he used to upload and put a lot of free things up for people to download, a lot of his sketches and his drawings and things like that. And he said, hey, why don't you do the same thing? I'm like, that's a great idea. And occasionally I get people that will, download a coloring sheet. I had some teachers reach out to me and ask me, because there were a set of books they're about crayons, and these crayons have personalities, and they go on strike one day. And I would always tag the artist, or I would tag the author in my posts, hoping that one day maybe they would see my drawing. And what do you know, like, I haven't drawn a coloring sheet in so long, and I just got a like on Instagram from Drew Daywald, and he was part of the crayon books, and he liked my post. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like 11 years later, I got a like from the actual, I don't remember if he was the author or the illustrator. I don't remember, but I was like super geeked about it. So that's what all of that is. Those are the coloring sheets that I've drawn over the years, and I don't really do it anymore. It isn't really part of the job that I do now. We kind of drifted in a little different direction for story time. So, but I still have them, so that if the coloring sheets, because I still work there and I'm still part of that, but if the coloring sheet is appropriate for whatever it is that the librarian's reading, I'm like, hey, you remember 5 years ago I drew this coloring sheet, let's just print it out. But I've had other librarians reach out to me and say, like, hey, can we print these and use them, for our kids, and it's kind of cool, because I like to tell the kids, like, do you know who drew this? I drew this. And they're like, wow, you drew that? I'm like, yeah, do you like to draw? And when we have like free comic book day, the first Saturday in May, I drew up a thing for the library, and it was make your own comic book. And that was kind of like an idea that I started with the library, and then I did it on my own, and I do it every year. So I print off blank comic panels, and then I've got my own cover that I drew. So I mocked up my own cover of a comic book, and then I made a blank one, like, a sketch cover, so that the kids can draw their own cover of their own comics. And like I said, I give them all the blank panels, and I kind of give them a little bit of instructions. Oh, and I give them speech bubbles too, so they can cut them out, write in their dialogue in the little speech bubbles, cut them out, and then paste them in, because back in the day, that's what they called it, paste ups. And you can make your own comic. And I always have them in my bag, so that when my boyfriend and I go to all the local comic book shops on free comic book day, if I see a kid comes, if a kid talks to me, because I'm always in costume, then I ask them, do you like to read comics? Do you ever think about drawing one? And some kids say no, and some kids are like, yeah. And then I ask them, like, would you like to draw your own comic? Here you go. And I just give them out for free.
That's super cool. Yeah, I love free comic book day, and I like inclusion of kids and stuff. And yeah, you're super talented. I was glad that we were able to have this talk.
Yeah, that was fun. This is the first time anyone's ever interviewed me, or first time anybody's ever asked me, like, how did all this start or anything. So this will be kind of fun. I think it'll be kind of neat.
You're gonna probably get people now wanting to interview you, so sorry ahead of time.
I think it would be fun. Bring it on.
Yeah, we start trends like that. We're kind of awesome.
Start here with JC and Drew.
But we do more than just YouTube. Actually, like, our YouTube is possibly our least popular way that people consume this show. So for anybody that's not seeing all of the links that we have,
okay. Drew.
Moments are yours to plug.
All right.
Did I disappear?
Drew,
yeah,
you
stopped.
Yeah, you're gonna want to rewind. I wasn't sure you were going, or I was gonna take over with it, but yeah, rewind like 10 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you can plug anything that you have to plug, because we're on more than just visual platforms. So anybody listening, if they want to get your plugs and check out your stuff, you know, you can go ahead and let them know where to find you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a link tree. I mean, if you just search Claudine Creates, like on Google, you'll find me on Facebook. You'll find my YouTube page. I am not as active on YouTube as I need to be because I have all kinds of videos I need to edit and get up there. And, you know, I work, you know, I talked about my job. So I work, you know, every day, Monday through Friday. I do all the costumes, make all the props, you know, record. I video edit everything myself. Like, you know, so everything I do Saturday night, first thing Sunday morning while I'm drinking my coffee and we're watching TV, I'm video editing to try to get it up within a couple of hours, you know. And so I've been teaching myself how to video edit and put in little cheesy little special effects and everything. So, but yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Claudine Creates. You can find me on Facebook, Claudine Creates. Not so much on Instagram. There's some stuff. It's like older stuff. And then, yeah, we do have the Etsy store where we have like t-shirts and, you know, other artwork and things like that. And some comics that my boyfriend has been working on. Those are the things. That is 6368 Studios. It's not Claudine Creates. This is a combined effort of my boyfriend and I with our artwork together. So that is our little company that we came up with. So that's where you can find us at 6368 Studios on Etsy.
All right, awesome. Yeah, hey, thanks again for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for asking me. This was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool. I was so nervous.
Oh no. Yeah, we're just us. Nothing to be nervous about now. Yeah. I wore my bathrobe, so.
Oh, I see that. I just now see that.
That's a new gimmick. Wow.
I'm perpetually nervous. It's a problem. So
yeah, I am too, because it's different. It's different when it's live, because you guys know when you record, if you screw things up, you can just record it again. So, you know, but I thought, oh my gosh, you know, this is gonna be live, and I hope I'm gonna be able to remember things. So
we screwed up all the time. Just pretend it didn't happen.
Yep, just sweep that under the rug and just say the next thing, and people forget.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we have an outro that we play, and by all means, like, you are free to go. You're not held hostage anymore. I know that you work and stuff, so thanks again. I will shoot you a link when it goes up on all of the other pages and stuff, and of course in the show notes I'll have all of your links and stuff for people to find your stuff. But yeah,
excellent,
awesome. Thank you.
Cool. And I will share it too if I can repost it on YouTube, and I'll share it out everywhere as well. So we'll get some views.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. But thanks for asking me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Take care.
The preceding program has been brought to you by the Watchers Podcast Network. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends to help grow our network. Check us out on all social media platforms, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, thanks for your support.